Alright, this video is on how to do your sketching and your measuring for your Automoblocks cars. In this one I'm going to start off talking about a couple things, but this is mostly about the passenger section. Okay? Alright, so here's an example of a car. Obviously this might not be one that you chose, but I'm going to use this one as an example, just kind of showing you the overview of it. Alright, so in these cars, this is what you're going to be responsible for. Okay, so they all come apart. So you have this right here. This is called your passenger section. This is going to be your rear section, and this is going to be your front section. So you have three main sections. Then you've also got this part right here, which is called a passenger, I believe I said passenger base. This is a separate part that's inside. Then you've got these two connectors, so they're the same, so you only really have to do one. So they connect the pieces, so there's one and then there's two. And then on either side, you can't see it here, I'm going to show you later, you've got this part that has the two squares in this case, and then it's got a rectangle over here. Those are two separate pieces. Then you've got your rims. Okay, you're going to have four of those, which you only have to design one, obviously, and then you have four different parts. You've got your tires, and then you've got your windshield. Okay, you also have your axle pegs, which do not come out of the car, and I do provide you the drawings of those, but you're still going to create those separately. All right, and on top of that, you're also going to have your four Automoblocks people. So you've got two males, so you've got the male with the circle base, male with the square base. Then you've got a female with this star base and the female with the triangle base. So everybody is responsible for all four passengers regardless of how many fit in your car. There's one car that only fits 2 passengers, and there's one car that fits 8 passengers, but everybody is responsible for 4. So the males are the same everywhere except for their bases. So what you'll do when you get to that part is you'll do the top part of the male, since it's the same, and then just save it once with this base and save it once with this base. Same thing with the female. The body is exactly the same, the base just changes. Okay? Alright, so what you're about to do, the sketches with your measurements, they are a summative grade. Okay? So everyone must have sketches of the following, regardless of what car you chose. The passenger section with measurements, this is highlighted in yellow because this is what this video is specifically about. But then you also have your front section that we talked about, your rear section, your windshield. The passenger base, that's the square base with all the shapes in it. I will give you the measurements for that, but you do have to sketch it. Your wheel with the measurements, the tire with the measurements, and then all 4 passengers with the measurements. Every part has to have at least one sketch, okay, and that has to have as many dimensions as it's needed to recreate it in Inventor. So we'll talk more about that, but you're really going to have at least an isometric, and you might have like a front view or a side view or something like that. Okay, so in addition to those 8 sketches, depending on the vehicle that you chose, you're going to have maybe one extra thing. So the S9 has got an additional middle section. It's really, really simple. It's just a little bit shorter than one of the other ones, so it's not really a lot of extra work. The X9, which is the SUV type vehicle, has got the step rails on the bottom. And then the C9, that's that little orange car I was saying, that it only has 2 passengers in the room for 2 passengers in that, but you still have to create all 4. Okay? Alright, so let's just look at the calendar so far. So technically, if you started this video, this is the minimum place that you should be right here is on the 23rd. If you were smart and did your stuff quickly and you're ahead, hopefully you're doing this either on Friday, this day, or at least this day is going to give you more time. Okay, so I kind of want you to look at the calendar and ask yourself some questions. 1, are you behind? Are you ahead? Are you right on schedule? I'm going to caution you again, you need to stay at least right on schedule, if not at least a day or 2 ahead. Okay, it's just going to help you so much more. Consider if you're going to miss a day for the STAR test. So if you're a freshman or a sophomore, you're going to be missing one of these days to take the STAR test, and that's built into the project, so you don't get an extra day. Are you absent a lot? If you're absent a lot, you need to think about coming into tutoring or figuring out what you can do at home. So that leads us to this. What can you complete at home? This first part, the first almost 2 weeks, you can do at home. Even the sketching you could do at home if you took pictures of the car and then do the measurements in class. So you can do that as well. Keep in mind that the golf project starts on this day. So these 2 days right here, we won't be working on reverse engineering. We'll be working solely on golf because I'm going to give you some information. Okay, and that's taken out of the project time, so those 2 days don't count against you. Get ahead, we talked about that, and use your class wisely. The due dates are not going to change, and I'm not your babysitter, so I'm not going to be up on you and making sure that you're doing your job. You either need to do it or you're just going to suffer the consequences. Okay? Alright, so this video is specifically about the passenger section. So this is the most important part of the car. So what I want you to do is you're going to complete this portion first. then I'm going to check it off, and you're going to get a formative grade for that before you start on anything else. Because I have the actual dimensions of the car, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to check yours. I'm not going to make you change them if they're off, but I'm going to make sure that you're in the right ballpark and that you haven't made some sort of an error that's going to mess you up. Because this is the piece that you're going to ground when you're doing your assembly. So everything is kind of based off of this. Okay. All right, so this is the passenger section. Now I'm using, again, the T9, right? But they all look the same. Every single car has got a passenger section, and they are all exactly the same, except for two differences. One being the color. This one's green because the color of the T9 is green. And the second being this connector. This connector is the same in all of them, but on the back, I think I have it here. Right, on the back, everyone's got their own connector. So this is the T9, this is the S9, I think this is the M9, the C9, and then this is the X9. Okay, so it's the same size, but what's different is the shape of this connector. Okay? All right, so let's go back. All right, so what you're going to do is you are going to look at this and you're going to draw an isometric. Okay, you can look at mine and kind of copy the way that I did it as far as the number of boxes if you want. You don't have to. It just gives you an idea. You want it to be proportional. You want it to look somewhat similar to what the shape is. You don't want it, too long or too short or anything like that. Okay, so that would be your first step, is go ahead and sketch. And if you notice, this part is not included, this green part. Okay, so this right here is actually hollow, even though it shows green here. We're just pretending that we're hollowing it out. And then I did not include this either. We're doing this as a separate piece. Okay, so the distance, the depth, is going all the way down to the wood on the bottom. Okay. All right, so here's an example of what it would look like with your dimensions. And I'm going to talk about what all these dimensions are. If you notice, I didn't put in the numbers, right? This is just showing you how the dimensions would pull off, similar to the way that they would be done in your drawings. Okay, yours don't have to be exactly like this, but again, this is your base model, so you need to make sure that whatever dimensions you have for this, you are able to read so that you can translate it to another portion. And mostly because if you look here, right, whatever distance you have for this, it's the same as this part, it's the same as this part, right? Whatever your height is the same here. When you're doing this portion, this little hollow section, it's the same for all of them. So getting this one done correctly is going to make your job and the rest of your work a lot easier. Okay. We talked about this, how everybody's got their own different ones. Okay, so let's talk about measuring. So you're going to use your dial caliper, and you're going to go to, 2 decimal points, so hundredths of an inch. Okay, so remember how you're reading these. This gives you your inches, so that's 1 inch. These are your tenths, 1/10, 2/10. The big numbers here are your hundredths, and then these are your thousandths. Okay, I'm okay with you going just to the hundredths. You can get more technical to do thousands, but most of them should be pretty close to your hundredths. Okay, so on this one, I'm actually measuring the height. Okay, so I'm putting my blades on either side of the thing, of the passenger base, and I'm measuring how tall it is. So that corresponds with this number right here. And if you notice, right, the lines come out just like they did on the train, coming out here to show you the height. Okay. This one is illustrating how you do the depth. So remember, you pull this down and you get this little blade that sticks out. You're going to put that right there on the bottom and then rest this on that edge. And then whatever number shows up here is going to be this part right here. So that's the height from here to here, all the way to the bottom, disregarding this part. Okay. All right, this one, you notice I have it oriented. Here's T9 right here. Here's T9 right there. So I'm measuring this distance right here, which is this distance. And if you pull it out to there, this is going to be the number that you're going to write in. Okay. Then on this next one, I'm doing the back. Now I didn't actually put a dimension here because it's kind of out of order here, but if I have this distance, which is the entire piece, and then this one, and then you're also going to measure this, by default you should know that, but if you were going to write it, that's where you would write it. Okay, and you can also use that to verify. Alright, so this one is doing my width. Okay, so across the sides, that's this one right here, that's my width. Right, this one is doing my length, so from here to here, which is from here to here, which is this distance. All right, now I'm doing the inside. So when you're doing an inside measurement, remember you turn the caliper upside down and you're putting the teeth, I guess, on the inside and opening it until it can't open anymore. And this distance is going to be this right here. So it's this number that you're going to put. And then this next one is going in the other direction. So it's going from here to here, which is this number right here. So remember again, we measured this, and then you also already measured that. So this should be whatever it is based on subtraction, okay? Also something to notice that this rectangle that's in the middle, the distance from here to here is not the same as the distance from here to here, okay? They're a little bit off, but it is in the center, so that means that these two distances would be the same, but you don't have to measure them, because if you constrain it when you're doing your inventor and make sure you do the midpoint of this to the midpoint of that, it'll put it directly in the center, okay? Okay, so just to kind of go over, this is what your drawing should look like, okay? We haven't done everything on here yet. We're going to talk about that here in the next couple sections. All right, so using again the T9 as an example, the front side has got this part right here, and then this is the opposite side, which is the back side. Okay, so when I drew this, I drew it at that angle, and this was the front. So what I did is I went ahead and drew another isometric, and I didn't do all the rounding because all I needed to know was that this back side is corresponding to this. Okay, now something for you to know. If you look at this and you look at this, at first glance they look like they're the same, but they're not. Okay, so the dimensions that you have here are going to be different than the dimensions that you have here. Okay, so you need to make sure. And again, if you get them right on this part, they're going to be the same on your next part that has that same connector. Okay, all right, let's see what else we got. All right, so I'm showing you here how I did the drawings. I just did a front view. So this drawing down here, I'm only doing the green part. I'm not talking about the wood part. I'm talking about the green part right here. Okay, so here I haven't rounded it off yet. I just went ahead and did squared as if it goes all the way across, and I'm just saying how long it is, right? I'm saying how deep this is, so the distance of the plastic right here, and then you need to know how big the square is. Obviously these are squares, so these are the same, and then they're the same distance from the sides here, and then they're directly in the middle. You just need to make sure that they are evenly spaced. Okay, same thing with here. This is only the only the green part. Okay, it is a little bit different again. So this is the rim right here, and then this part right here is this right here. The only thing that you would have to put in here that I didn't write is you would need to know what the depth is, like how far does the do the squares come up. So you could just write depth somewhere so you know how far that goes down. Okay. All right, and then the last part is on the Automoblocks cars. On the passenger base, for all of them, it's got the number, actually the different letter, and then the 9, so M9, C9, X9, whatever it happens to be. And then it's got this groove going across. Everybody has that groove. And then if you look at the car, when it's put together, the grooves line up. So wherever the groove is on the passenger section, it also continues on to the rear, and it continues on to the front. Okay, so it's kind of a way so you know that it's put together correctly. And if you notice in the drawing, I have this C detail A, and I took this picture just to show you. I'm just concentrating on this part right here. Okay, so I just drew that rounded part. In order to know where this goes, you need to know how far is this point. So how far is it from here? And if I were to go straight up, like a straight line, what is this height right here? Okay, that's the first thing. You need to know that. Then you need to know how big it is from here to here, which is this distance from here to here. And then you need to know how far back does it go. So from this point all the way to the back. So all you're going to do is when you're doing your inventor, if this is your front face, you're just going to draw this line, right, this rectangle, and then extrude it back. And when you extrude it back, it's going to cut through just like this. It's going to cut through. And then this dimensions that you find right here will be the same for this piece, and it'll be the same for this piece. The locations will be exactly the same. Okay? And when you get to that part when you're doing the inventor, we can go ahead and talk about that. All right, so questions, come and see me. But like I said, really what you need to be doing is, let's go back to this. where I've got it big. Right here. This is what you're looking for. Okay, you want to get this done. Make sure you have all of these dimensions done, which not all of them I showed you, but you need to make sure that you have each one of these so that you can recreate it. Okay? All right, when you're done, come and show me, and I will check it off for you. You guys have a good night.